Don't Hide the Scars, a weekly podcast focused on addiction and recovery. Created by the nonprofit PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need, and founded by Flindt Andersen.
Chris Contopulos, thank you for joining Flindt Andersen over there, the founder of Parents and Addicts in Need, and myself, Jason LaChance. We appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Hi, Chris.
Thank you.
So we're kind of digging into a story here. One of the fascinating things that you shared with us before we got going was having had a longevity of sobriety and then falling off. Can you kind of take people maybe through it? What the initial 16, well, I guess probably about 18 years ago of seeking sobriety and what was going on with you then?
Yeah, I mean, I got sober at 21. Which is kind of funny also because it's when when people start drinking and I was already ready to stop. I was about a 2-bottle a day drinker with Jack Daniels by the time I got sober, and I was doing a bunch of narcotics along with it. To me, sobriety, I don't really differentiate between NA and AA. I think it's all one thing together.
Right.
So when I say, my drug of choice or whatever, it's not really that, it's just all of it.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. I wanted it all. So when I got sober, I stopped it all. I got sober at 21 and it was my time. I mean, I was, I got thrown out of college. I had a scholarship for Arizona and got rid of that. Everything just kind of started going downhill. And my family, they didn't really know much about addiction, but they knew something was wrong. And so they decided just to kind of boot me out. And, I came home one night and from partying and the locks in the house had changed and I couldn't get in.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that was my first time being kind of on the street. And when I was 21, I got really bad and I was doing a lot of cocaine, and I decided after my third attempt at suicide, basically, was to get clean.
Right.
And I came home to my parents' house, and like 4 a.m, and I rang the doorbell, and I came in there, and they opened it, and they didn't recognize who I was. I looked so ill and sickly, and I told them I need to get help. Yeah. And so they helped me find a place, but they wouldn't. They said, "We'll help you find a place, but you got to do it on your own." I said, "Okay." And so we found a place in Pasadena, and I got some drugs on the way out there, drove myself out there, and checked in.
Right. We always go on that last run, don't we?
Oh, I did.
Yeah, Chris, I took 42 Vicodin from the time I got on the plane in Fresno till I landed in Palm Springs to go to Betty Ford, all within about an 8-hour period.
Yeah. I can totally relate, and I get it. And everyone's always like, "Oh my God, what'd you do that for?" I was like, "Why not? My last trip."
Right.
And
I don't think people understand the power that it has over us, even after recognizing, we need to go get help. But before I get help, I'm going to get loaded one last time. It's like that toxic love affair.
Yeah, you don't want to go to treatment, sober. You want to go to treatment as messed up as possible. So that was me. And when I got in there, I had a counselor that was pretty amazing, and he's since passed away. But they talk about like a spiritual change, in the program. And I had that one. We were in the park one day, and he like held my hands. We were doing this prayer, and I felt like a shock go from his body to my body, and I passed out. Like I fainted in the park. Wow. And I was like, from that moment, I was like, "What the hell? Like this is some trippy shit." But it was that point. There's that point where I was like, "This is it. Like this is, I'm done." And I was done for 16 years. I did the steps like 40 times, and I started sponsoring people when I was 5 years sober. I sponsored about 16 kids, and did that for a long time. And then, my life was just, my relapse it just happened. I mean, it wasn't even anything I planned or anything.
Right.
It kind of just, I was 16 years sober, and I was like, you know what? I was at a bachelor party in Cabo, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have a drink. Why not? I can have one. And that one drink led to, tons by the end of the trip, and by me buying pills at the pharmacy in Mexico, and,
Right. Off to the races.
Yeah, and that's just how quickly it escalates. We put our brain will put a lot of effort to get us right back where we were fast.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting, Chris, when you're telling that story, it reminds me of back in 2004, I had been clean 3 years. And I was never really an alcoholic. I mean, I drank in college and believe me, I drank a lot, but I wasn't really considered an alcoholic. So, but mine were pills and I was the king of pill addiction. But I went to my younger son. It was his junior, senior prom. And so we go over to some parents' house, right, where all the kids go and you take the pictures and I'm thinking I'm doing really good. And the kids leave and the people that were at their house, they opened up the bar at that point. And well, everybody told me the next day I had 13 straight shots of Padron. And, yeah, and they found me. I walked almost 4 miles to Taco Bell. I bought 27 tacos. Now, why 27? I couldn't tell you. All right. And then I walked the remainder 3 miles to my house. So, but it's like, what the hell happened? It's like all of a sudden out of nowhere. And I, pissed my family off something horrible. But that moment, it was short-lived. It was one day and haven't had a drink since, because I know I would switch one drug for another. That's the point of this. I would just switch out one thing for another. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. Like the relapse, the relapse, it changed my life. Some for the good, some for the bad. It's something I never thought would happen to me being sober. It did. Yeah. And now I'm kind of facing it, I'm living it again. Right. And I'm okay doing it at this time, but it's definitely, it's something that's been eating at me a little bit because it's, you had so much time and it's like, now you're back to square one. And to me, that time doesn't go away because that time has actually helped me get back here to where I am now. But it is a little, defeating and hard to take in sometimes because, now in this time, I've lost my family. My family's disowned me. I'm dealing with situations that are so hard to stay sober in, but I am. And that's the hard part for me right now is that, I have all the tools. I have everything. I know what I need to do. And just stay on that path is a struggle, to be honest, Sure. And, this time around, when my parents came out the first time, I was 21 and, I was like, okay, I gotta get sober for everybody else, gotta do it for them. And now it's like, I'm doing it for me because I literally have nothing, I have no family left. I'm divorced and, I'm in a situation where I've lost my friends. Like, I'm kind of solo and I told myself like, I don't want that life. Like I want to get back to where I was. And, that's why I'm trying to give this all I can right now, Right. Well, Chris, if I could say a couple things here. One, look, my friend, you just because there's a relapse, that doesn't mean you lost your recovery. Yeah. Okay. Right. It does not. And also, please remember, this relapse does not define you and who you are. Right. It doesn't. Those other folks, I don't know them. But you know what? They're have to deal with their own shit. Okay. Mm-hmm. But that relapse does not define you. You did not lose your recovery over that. You lost a little time. Okay. And I was never a day counter to begin with. I never was. My philosophy is I didn't use yesterday. I didn't use today. And I don't know what tomorrow holds. Yeah. Exactly. And God forbid it should happen to me again. You know what, my friend? You got back up on the horse. That's what's important. You didn't let it beat you down. You didn't continue in it, right? And for that, I mean, hell, I don't know you, and I'm proud of you for doing that. Absolutely. Thank you. You bet. It's an interesting thing. It's I definitely agree that I didn't lose my sobriety. I lost maybe a year, 2, 3, whatever it was. Right. But I'm here because I had that sobriety, Right. If I didn't have that before, I wouldn't be here, Right. Yeah. So, and to give you so much credit for getting clean and sober at 21. Good gosh. I mean, unbelievable. Do you know how many kids I've dealt with over the years that I don't think I've ever even heard that before? from somebody at 21 and going 16 years. That's a miracle in itself.
I turned 21, and then 5 months later, I turned sober.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool.
New Perceptions North, the premier drug and alcohol treatment and recovery center in Central California. A full continuum of medically supervised, top quality care with programs for detox, inpatient residential treatment with dual diagnosis, intensive outpatient treatment, sober living, support groups, and more. With 50 plus years of combined experience and sobriety, Flindt Andersen and Thelma Gatlin Wilson provide adult men and women with the highest caliber of professional health care, treating each client with compassion and respect, and a safe, comfortable environment to begin the process of recovery. To proudly create and sustain a life without addiction, call 559-978-1507 or visit newperceptionsnorth.com.
Well, I got to ask, because you've worked longevity in the entertainment industry. Oh my God, I worked in radio broadcasting around a lot of musicians and bands. It's entrenched. Like, how did you, through that, and I'm going to assume you may have worked with some people that had some substance use issues. It's more prevalent than maybe put out there. How did you maintain sobriety? And secondly, was there any points where people came to you during that time?
Yeah. Well, my first sponsor that I had, who passed away, he was in the fashion world. And so kind of dealt with that side of it. And then my next sponsor, which I still have now, whether I got him back after my relapse, he's a really well established music manager. Wow. And so he's in the industry. And so when I wanted him, not because of what he did, but because he was in that situation where this is his career and he's around it all the time. How does he do it? I wanted to know how he did it.
Right.
Yeah. So, that's part of the reason why I chose him. And it's helped a lot. I mean, I went to a bunch of private men's meetings, which were all kind of people in the same industry. And it was private. It was personal. It was really heartfelt, and that really helped me a lot. Because when I started in entertainment, I started as an assistant. I worked in a talent agency, and I was going to premieres every night and doing all these different things. And at that time, it's like that's what everybody did, is party.
Right.
And for me, I was there drinking Red Bulls and getting wired on Red Bull. But which I can't even drink. It doesn't even affect me anymore. I can't even drink Red Bull anymore.
Right.
I'd be the guy that I'd have like 14 Red Bulls at once, in a night. And everyone would always be like, what the hell? Like, how are you doing that? I was like, I don't know. I feel fine. And it's I used to smoke meth, and meth would do the opposite for me. It would calm me down and keep me normal because I have ADHD, Sure. So it's all these things were counterbalancing, but working in entertainment it was a struggle. It was definitely a struggle. The first thing my parents said is you can't be in that industry sober. And I was like, well, why not? why do I have to be different than everybody? And I made it work. I did it. Yeah.
It's interesting you say that, because when I was in treatment, there was I won't say who, obviously, but there was somebody I met who was in the entertainment business. This person's family was in the entertainment business. They married into the entertainment business. I mean, they were well known. And this person struggled so much afterwards, up and down, sober and not, and until this person had to realize that they could not even attend some of these premieres and even be associated with some of these folks. This person finally got sober about 4 years ago. And this was 2001 when I met this person.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel a little bit different than most people, because they'll say oh, I can't go to a bar. I can't do this and I can't. But why not? Why not? Why can't you? It's really comes down to the inside of you. When I got out of treatment, when I got out of treatment at 21, the first night I was out, I went to a bar. That's kind of how sick I am. But I was like, why not? Why can't I go? I want to be with my friends,
Right.
And I didn't want my life to be different than anybody else's. I didn't want to feel like I had to be this person that was that couldn't do things that other people could do.
Right.
Because already have an issue of feeling rejected and not wanted because of my adoption. So I already grew up with that. And so when I got out of treatment, it's like, okay, yeah, I have this disease, but I don't want to let it define me. I don't want it to make it like ruin my daily life of what I want to go do. I'll use it to like help me figure out situations or what I need to do to make it better, but I'm not going to let it like change my life for me, or my daily routine. So that's what people always,
I was going to say, so do you seem to pinpoint really that adoption and abandonment as something that, we'll call it a trauma for a lack of a better term.
A big one. I mean, I was adopted from birth and I actually found my birth parents 2 years ago.
Oh.
And part of the reason why my family doesn't talk to me now.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And and that's a bigger story behind that. But the short of it is that I basically found out that the story my parents told me growing up was not true.
Uh-oh.
And I found out the real story of my adoption, and it's intense. It's a deep one.
Right.
And, finding that out, getting sober again was not easy. I mean, that was really kind of hard to take in while getting sober again,
Right.
I'm lucky. I found them. I'm grateful that I did. And, I have a good relationship with my biological father now. We look like twins, and it's been crazy. It's been an intense trip. That's for sure. But my adoption and the abandonment, growing up with that was not easy.
So you were aware from a young age that you were adopted?
Third grade. Found out, yeah.
And did you have siblings that were biological, and what was kind of the background with that?
No, so I had a sister growing up, but she was biological to my parents, but not to me.
Right.
And she was 8 years older than me, and there's situations with that I have trauma from, which I don't really want to get into, but I will if you guys need me to. But
no, that's okay.
So that took. I actually kind of just processed all that stuff when I went to rehab the second time. Which it was intense. It's dealing with trauma and stuff is hard. It's really hard. And going through, I don't know if you ever gone through trauma therapy, but trauma therapy is it's just, it's hard. It brings up a lot of stuff, and you have to relive your experiences. And, it's something that's, I don't wish anybody has to go through, but I do feel it's very beneficial,
Right. Yeah. I think it's something I still need to explore more, because I will, as Flindt knows openly, state my last relapse was a trauma-based trigger for sure. And this stuff, our brain is so magical, and that if we don't deal with this stuff, it's going to repeat in our lives until we hit it head on. And that's just how the brain and our energy and everything, it's like where people like, I keep finding the same kind of relationship. And what is it with these people? Like, no, shithead, it's you. Look at you. I know I was one of those shitheads. So
I was going to say, because we've talked about trauma before, on the show, and there's different types of trauma. There's the trauma that you went through, and the trauma, Jason, that you went through that is, for the lack of a better term, what do we want to use here? Evil?
Sure.
We can use that term. Or the trauma that I went through that was not evil, not intentional, but still very traumatic to a young child. It was a medical issue that I had 17 surgeries in the first 20 years of my life.
Wow.
So those are different traumas. So I didn't have to go through trauma therapy, but I'll tell you what, I really didn't figure out most of this shit until I was 40. Because I kept using it as an excuse to be mad at people, and to be mad at my parents, and to be mad at whoever, and that's the reason why I'm using, and blah blah blah, and the excuses go on and on. But the point here is that trauma again can either be evil or not.
Yeah, I'm dealing with you talked about like using excuses and everything, and lately right now, like my mom that raised me, my adopted mom, passed away on March 27th this year.
Sorry.
And I haven't talked to my parents in almost 3 years, and then, my dad didn't even call me. I haven't talked to him yet. My sister didn't call me. And my brother-in-law is the one that called me and told me that she passed away.
Wow.
And, that hurts, because it's like you can hold all the grudges you want, but when something happens like that and it's your family, like,
right.
you kind of have to go through this alone. It's hard.
It is hard. Yeah, it
is. It's I tried not to hold any resentments on anything, but this time, like, this is something that's hard for me to kind of get over, because no matter me having children now, it's like I can never imagine just shutting them out and not being a part of their life. And if something dramatic like that happens, like, of course I'm going to be there for them, and the fact that, like, my dad doesn't consider me in the family, and I've heard that he's told people that I'm dead, is like it's a really hard thing. And that's honestly, like, been, like, my only struggle right now in this sobriety is this time, really, to really not let this affect me, my road,
Well, but, if I could give, any words here, and that would be this, Chris, you don't want to be to your children what your adopted father is to you, right? Mm-hmm. Not saying that your adopted father is, again, use the term evil, all right? But if I'm in your shoes, I'm kind of using that platform as a reason for me not to be that way.
Yeah. In my situation, I mean, it's hard because, I mean, the background of why I kind of been disowned by my family is I had an affair for many years. And during that affair, my wife and I had a baby. So it's like, it doesn't look good on any part. Yeah. But at the same time, I came clean about everything. I owned it. Like, I've dealt with it. And, unfortunately, my ex, went to everybody first and told everybody about what happened. And I never got a chance to tell my side of why or what or, anything. Right. And so she went to my family first. And ever since that time, my family's, pushed me out.
Right.
And I've made every attempt possible to reconnect. And I've made, I've written letters, I've ring the doorbell, I've made phone calls, I've, whatever I could. And there's only so much I could take of getting rejected from it, Yeah. And also, like, one of my biggest issues is the fear of abandonment. Right. From growing up being adopted, most adopted people have a fear of abandonment.
Sure.
Or rejection. And my biggest fear that came true is that my family abandoned me. And thank God it happened at an older age, right now. But it doesn't even that doesn't make it easy. It makes me to understand a little bit more and make it more tolerable, I guess. But it still hurts a lot.
I've had someone that's very near and dear to me, a very similar situation, and go through very much a similar thing. So, with the fear of abandonment, it's not an excuse, but it makes a lot of sense to sometimes seek outside of a situation. And I think people need to understand that with the trauma that you do come from, is that sometimes this is a result in choices. Granted, you're owning it and what those consequences are, but it becomes a common thing for someone of such a background with that type of trauma. And, my heart's with you, man. I wish this wasn't virtual. I give you a hug right now. And, I just, I know exactly I know those feelings. So,
yeah. And I talk about it because, I mean, the reason why I wanted to do this show a lot also is because the title is Don't Hide the Scars.
Right.
And I think that's really me. I really don't hide anything anymore. I let it all out. And I have, even when I was sober, for 16 years, I had no problem sharing about what happened to me as a kid and what I went through. And most people would be scared to talk about certain things that I talked about. But at the same time, it's like at the end of meetings, I used to be like a circuit speaker. I go around to all these meetings in LA and speak everywhere. And, always, every time at every meeting, I'd have at least 10 people would be like, oh my God, I can relate to you so much. Like, I've always been so scared to talk about this. And, thank you so much for being so vulnerable and opening up. And I told myself, like, if I was going to get sober and do this, like, I had to just, not hide anything anymore.
Right.
And not pretend I was like this person that I wasn't, because that was my biggest thing, is I always pretended I was something better than I was, but I did it because I was afraid of people not liking me. And I was afraid of people, not wanting me to be in their life. And, I had to do whatever I could to make myself fit in,
Yeah.
Sounds all too familiar.
Yeah. And like there's that line in the big book where it's like, we live our daily life as an actor, two sides or whatever. And like, that was me. I mean, that was totally me, And I remember reading that big book for the first time, and like I highlighted every single line in that book. I made notes on every single line. Like I was like, "Oh shit, that's me. That's me. That's me. That's me."
Yes,
like,
yes, I do.
Well, it's interesting when I founded this organization, and it prior to it being Pain, it was actually Don't Hide the Scars.
Really, I didn't know.
Yeah, it was. And so we changed the name in a year, but we still kept Don't Hide the Scars, because I felt like, look, if I can be kind of an ass anyway, but I'm going to tell the truth about this stuff. And I really didn't care what people thought. Yeah. This was going to look, it's my story. It's everybody else is out there BSing about addiction, and I'm going to come out, man, and I'm just going to level everybody with this thing. And because I believe that's the way it needs to be done.
Sure.
And that means unzipping our chest and throwing our guts out on the floor to people, because that's the only way you're going to help somebody else. Chris, by what you're saying is going to help somebody else that's listening to this. What Jason, what you do, what I do, it is critically important that we tell the truth about this stuff. Now, look, and I always joke about the fact I'm not going to tell somebody some of my criminal activities in the past, okay, because I don't know if there's still warrants out there or not. But as far as the addiction side of it, man, you're going to get it all. Right. And it takes big balls to come on this show and talk about stuff like this, but I'll tell you something, my friend, both you guys, you are helping somebody, whether you know it or not. And that's what's important.
And I believe that. I mean, I believe it. I mean, I'll be honest, like I was nervous to come on the show. Like I've never, done one of these before. And, I used to speak all the time. I get so nervous going to speak, but then afterwards I was like, fuck, that was great. Like I want to go do it again. Like when we do it tomorrow, But it's hard. It's hard being able to open up and be vulnerable and to be willing to share, it's, when I first got sober and I go to meetings, like granted the meetings I was going to were like, Cedar Sinai and the famous ones and like Rodeo and all this bullshit, Right. And I was so intimidated by all these people there. And then my sponsor he'd like, raise your hand, share. I'm like, what the fuck? No. But once I started doing it, then it's like, I met people and, people could relate to me. And like, I got engaged before in AA and that was a disaster, but it's all right. But I went through experiences that everybody also seemed to be going through. And I wasn't different than anybody else. Everybody always seemed to have something relatable to me. Right. Which I thought was really cool.
One of the things I tell everybody is that I loved being completely screwed. You know why?
Yeah.
Because I can't get any more screwed. Okay?
That's right.
It's like, what else is somebody going to do to me? All right, nothing. I've already been to hell, right? I've already experienced all this bullshit that not any human being should experience. And so there is something freeing to me about being completely screwed, because you just can't get any more screwed.
Yeah.
And the only way to go is to get better. It's like once you're already down, it's like you can't go further down. Like that's it. You know. So
and I think the blessing with it too is once you get that vulnerable and you start to do it outside of, your group or sponsor or therapist or whatever else it is, there's something very freeing in, okay, this person actually likes me, not the character I'm playing for them or anything else. No facade. There is no mask on, or they genuinely don't like me. And that's okay too.
Yes.
But at least now I actually know, and I'm good with that. And to me, that's been one of the most freeing things. When someone now is like, I love you, it's like, wow, that's genuine. It wasn't because I did some bullshit or put this on or whatever. I'm a big people pleaser. It wasn't that. And with someone that you establish boundaries and they have boundaries and they tell you, I love you, you're like, wow, okay, there's something genuine and authentic here.
Yep.
And that's a very powerful thing that I hope anyone listening that's struggling with recovery can hear and just realize that one of the small pieces and components that we get.
Yeah. And, like this time around getting sober and going through this relapse and whatnot, it's, it really made me see who my true friends were and who weren't.
Yes.
And who was really, because everybody that I thought was not, and I feel like I'm a kid again, kind of trying to make friends again because I've lost the friends that I thought I had,
Yeah.
And it's a really humbling experience, to be sure. And it's a really, self-reflecting experience but it's a rebirth for me. It's, I'm really I feel like I'm trying to find my way in life now, where I felt like before I was trying to find it for everybody else. And, now that I'm really kind of doing this solo, as far as doing it for myself, things have been good,
Right.
Not easy, but, and definitely lonely for sure. But they've been good for me, in my path, what I need to do. So.
Yeah. Right. One of the things that I also tell people is, and I've always told my sons this as well. We live in Fresno, and Fresno, we have 1 million people here, and but it's still a very small community. And we're all born and raised here, and yes, we know a lot of people. Okay, we do.
Well, I know. I lived there for a minute.
And the thing of it is I tell my sons, and I've told them in the past, you are going to know thousands of people just growing up here, and you're going to be very fortunate to have 2 or 3 extremely close friends that know everything about you. Yeah. And believe it or not, that's kind of true in life. You'll have all these acquaintances. Okay. But you will start to find that you will start surrounding yourself with 2 or 3, maybe 4 guys. Okay. That are going to be right there for you. You never know when they're going to appear in your life, but man, when they appear, it is magical, right? It's absolutely. Even at 66, within the last 2 years, I have found several more guys, right, that are extremely close with me, that know my every move, know I'm in recovery. They're not, because they don't have to be, they're normal, right? But they watch out for my ass, even when I don't even think they're watching out for me.
Sure.
Right. So the older we get, you're going to find that closeness with other men in particular, it's going to come into play. It really does. I don't want you to walk out of here today thinking that you're just going to be alone because you're not, man. Okay. You are not.
Yeah. No, it's a period of time right now, and it's part of my path and my journey. And it's, I actually think it's really good for me, to be honest. Yeah. Like, it's something that I need to experience and walk through,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's good that you see it as the blessing, because when we sometimes pray and ask for some things, it's not delivered to us in the package that we would hope.
Be careful what you ask for.
There's a lot of things that I've prayed on and asked for before that never happened, and but now I really kind of do it for other people. So
there it is.
What when you relapsed, did you do rehab again, or was it getting back into groups? Did you? What did you experience?
I did
differently this second time around, from the difference from being 21 to now.
Well, this time I did it for me. Sure. It was my time, and I knew it was my time. I couldn't get any lower than it was. That's for sure. And I lost everything. I really did. I lost everything in my life. Family, friends, kids, marriage, money, jobs, everything, I was done, I wasn't suicidal or anything, but I was definitely on the verge of insanity and losing my mind, and, kind of lost hope in everything. And I called my old treatment center and talked to the director, and they could put me in another place. I said, I want to come back.
Yeah.
And so I did. I was actually in Fresno, and I drove down from Fresno to Pasadena and checked into rehab. So
right on.
That ride from Fresno to Pasadena though took about 12 hours.
Stopping all along the way.
I mean, I was supposed to be there at a certain time to meet somebody, and I kept calling. I was like, nope, not going to be there yet. Nope, nowhere near there yet.
I'll get there.
We all get that one.
Yeah, and, you know, and I got there, and I was like, oh no, I'm sober, I'm good, I'm ready to go. And they're like, oh, you're high as shit. I was like, no, I'm not. You know, like, yeah, I was.
Yeah, we're not that stupid.
Oh man, I was, and I thought they believed me. I thought they believed me that I wasn't high.
We always like that. Like, hey, I don't know how many times I'm not drunk.
I'm not high.
Drunk. You're drunk.
As I've got drool coming out of the side of my mouth. You know?
I crunched up pill fragments in your teeth or something.
I'll tell you one thing. I got into that rehab, and I slept for 7 days straight. I was like a bear. You know, I'm cold.
I told the intake guy where I was, he kept throwing the paperwork in front of me, right, to sign all these papers. I could have been selling in my house for all I knew.
Oh yeah.
And he finally throws this piece of paper in front of me. I said, "Look, motherfucker," I said, "you put one more piece of paper in front of me, I'm gonna shove all these up your ass." Okay. Yeah. And the guy looks at me and he goes, "No worries, we can finish this tomorrow." And I said, "Good move on your part." You know.
It's so funny. It's so funny how they make you sign all these forms when you come in loaded off your ass. It's like, what the hell? Like, I don't remember anything I signed.
Right.
You know? So crazy.
All right. This one says we get your car, we get your retirement.
Yep.
I wasn't even coherent. Right.
Yeah. I always wondered how legal that stuff is when they know that you're just gassed. Okay. And you can't even hold a thought in your head. I wonder what the legality is on that. If you actually had to go to court over something.
Right.
I thought about that too, because I mean, I honestly, I don't remember anything when I checked in there. I don't remember it at all. I remember waking up the next day and be like, wow, I'm hungry, you know? But I mean, they told me I ate like 5 dinners when I got in there. I don't remember eating anything, you know. Right. But who knows? But yeah, you're right.
Along the lines of the 27 tacos. Huh?
Yeah. But shit, I mean, eating again was great because I didn't eat for a long time.
Right. I remember waking up. I don't know, maybe 2.5 weeks into it, 3 weeks into it, and just going, whoa. So that's what it's like to sleep.
Huh. Yep, exactly.
Because I was up all night, up and down, even with opioids. I mean, that's what it does. I mean, your sleep patterns turn all to shit, during you're using. And again, even though my sleep patterns weren't completely back, because it takes about 3 years for those to return. Still though, just being there and being in a place where I was calm and just woke up and went, wow, I mean, what a new concept, sleep,
Yeah. I mean, I'm still kind of learning how to do that again, because I get like maybe 3 or 4 hours in night sleep, right now. Yeah. And I'm even I'm on meds. I mean, I'm on Seroquel, I'm on Remeron, all these different things, but I'm still, my mind and my body are still adjusting. You know?
And then, like I said, it takes about 4 years for sleep patterns to come back. But then you're going to find as you get older, hell, now we got to get up twice a night just to pee. So, there it is.
Yeah, that's right.
Finally start sleeping again. Now
I got to pee. You're sitting there and you're going, God, do I really got to go? Do I really got to go? No. Shit. I got to get up.
Got to go. Yep. I experience that sometimes. Yeah. I know what that's like.
So Chris, what would you say the biggest struggle for you was after your last treatment and getting reacclimated? As we talk a lot about there's a perception of people, especially, Flindt works with a lot of parents with their kids, that after 30 days, my son, my daughter is going to be back to the kid that they once were. And that's not really the case. We got our 60, our 90, our 120, our year for a lot of reasons. And like Flindt was saying, 3-4 years for a sleep pattern and so many different things, depending on your longevity and your substance of choice, as if we had a choice.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, when I hit that the first 30 days when I first got sober, I was like, 30 days, holy shit. Like, I'm sober 30 days. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
Because as a kid, like as a teenager growing up, I never had 30 days clean at all. I was always on something, and which is kind of weird to say now. Like as a kid, I was on something all the time, but it's what it was. You know, I mean, I started drinking at 12 years old, and ever since that, I kept going. You know, and so when I got that first 30 days, I was like, holy shit, 30 days. Like now what? You know,
right?
And then the 30 days quickly turned into a year. And then when I got that first year, my first time around, you know, I had my whole family there. I took him to the big rodeo meeting in LA. I got my cake there, you know, in front of like 500 people. And I was like, you know, that was it. But then like, then my mom was like, you know, oh my God, there's so-and-so and there's so, I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, you know, like, but, you know, getting that year was like, it was a crazy feeling. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna keep going. And the way that I did it was, on a calendar, really. Every day I put an X through, you know, a square, and I wanted to see that calendar fill up with X's, and that's how I kind of stayed sober that first year. And then from there, it's just things started getting better. You know, my life, for what I thought at the time, was getting better. What I didn't realize is that I never really dealt with anything, you know, in that sobriety. I was honest in it, but I wasn't completely honest. I didn't let myself fully go out there. And you know, like this time around, I dealt with trauma that I had from growing up. And when I first got sober, I didn't deal with that trauma, you know, and dealing with that this time around has been really intense for me. And, you know, knock on wood, thank God I stayed sober through it right now. It's something that I hold a lot of resentment on that I'm still trying to work through, and try to let go. Because that person that, you know, causes trauma on me is, you know, seen as like this perfect person, and she's not, you know. And you know, I've been, you know, typecast and outcasted as this like really bad, you know, fuck up, and I'm not, you know, I'm really not. I had some shit happen to me, and unfortunately I made choices that weren't the best choices, but at the end of the day, it doesn't mean that I'm this horrible person, you know. I you know, had situations that I deal with, and you know, this time around, it's, you know, it's really for me. I don't have anything left. I have my kids, and that's it, you know. And I want those kids in my life, and I want to be the best that I can be to them, and that's all that matters to me, really. You know, I don't have parents that I need to try to impress anymore. I don't have, you know, friends that I need to try to like be the cool guy with, or, you know, I'm not in a relationship. I don't have anybody by my side except for me, and that's what I'm really doing it for right now. Is just to see what life is like for me.
Good for you.
You know.
No, I'm proud of you.
Yeah,
so,
you bet.
That's what I would say. Is it's, you know, just try to do it for yourself and not for anybody else.
Flindt.
So
I'll tell you what, this has been enjoyable. I mean, you know, Chris, thank you so much for you know what,
You're welcome.
man, it takes a lot to come on and to talk about things like this. It really does. I applaud you for it. You know, you're a good man. I mean, just keep doing what you're doing, and remember that relapse does not define you one bit. And if you need somebody to come down to kick some ass in LA for you, I'll be there. Okay.
Thank you guys. Yeah.
You bet, man. I'd love you to come back again. All right. We can talk some more. Yeah. I think that would be wonderful. You bet. Just to kind of keep this thing going. I
mean, there's a lot I can go into. I you know, I don't know where you guys want me to go, and you know, but I do have a lot of experience that I can talk about, and situations that are really kind of deep and hard, and kind of how to go through it. You know, it's what I'm learning every day.
Great. I mean, we can start with, we can even start doing that. I mean, you know, to just get you back to help some other folks out by telling your story, man. I think that would be wonderful. You bet.
Yeah.
Whenever you guys want. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Chris. Really appreciate you and the vulnerability, brother. Keep it going, and don't forget that, you know, there's a somewhat old fucker and an old fucker that, you know, Shannon's got our info. You know, you need someone just to bullshit with.
That's right. Pick up the phone, man. I'm going to have Shannon reach out, give you my cell number. Okay.
All right. I love Shannon, and I'm really happy that she reached out for me to do this. So
yeah, thank you.
You got it, buddy. All right. Have a good one.
We appreciate you.
All right. Take care.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please call Parents and Addicts in Need at 559-579-1551 or check us out online at painnonprofit.org. Follow us on social media at Pain Nonprofit. Please subscribe to the podcast and share with others wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. To donate, please click the link in the description and help us save more lives gripped by addiction.
This podcast contains the views and opinions of hosts and their guests to the show. The content here should not be taken as medical advice. The content here is for informational purposes only. And because each person is sharing their unique perspective, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. Views and opinions expressed in the podcast and website are our own and do not represent that of our places of work. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we are sharing is accurate, we welcome any comments, suggestions, or correction of errors. Privacy is of the utmost importance to us. For those wishing anonymity, people, places, and scenarios mentioned in the podcast have been changed to protect confidentiality at the request of certain guests. This website or podcast should not be used in any legal capacity whatsoever, including but not limited to establishing standard of care in a legal sense or as a basis for expert witness testimony. No guarantee is given regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on the podcast or website. In no way does listening, reading, emailing, or interacting on social media with our content establish a doctor-patient relationship. If you find any errors in any of the content of this podcast or blogs, please send a message through the contact page.